Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecco. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. weather show. We do this every day here on the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms, including Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. I know you'll likely have lots of questions and comments, so hopefully I'll be able to answer them all with just the information that I'm going to be going through here. But if not, I'll answer a couple at the very end, just kind of recap everything a couple of times here. But let's get started. We are on alert starting tomorrow, and we do have some updates here, mainly to the timing and potential storm mode. A lot of the models keep going back and forth between timing here on the order of a couple of hours, and so there is still a little bit of tweaking that the forecast could undergo here even into tomorrow morning before everything kind of gets nailed down. But in general, we are expecting severe thunderstorms to be working in here maybe as early as late tomorrow afternoon, but I think the main line and the main severe weather threat will come later Monday night, generally after 8 o'clock, and then continue into the overnight hours. And we're looking at mainly a damaging wind threat and the potential for some embedded tornadoes, especially within that line of showers and storms. So let me go ahead and start us off with a look at the SPC. Not much has changed. They haven't really updated it since earlier this afternoon. The next update will be sometime overnight tonight, but most of us still sit in that slight to enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms. So I don't want you to get too caught up on exactly where you are, whether you're in the yellow or you're in the orange. All the dynamics are present for the potential of severe weather. So don't think that just because you're in Tell City that you're any safer than you are for somebody in Fairfield or in Carmi. We're all pretty much under the gun here for the potential of severe storms. So let's break down each individual hazard. And I mentioned it before, but we'll cover it again. We're mainly looking at a damaging wind threat. There's the potential for widespread damaging wind gusts, especially within that line of storms moving through later Monday night. And then there's also that 5% hatched tornado risk, even a 10% in our far northwestern counties there in Illinois. So keep that in mind as well. And I think our likely tornado threat comes in the form of embedded tornadoes within that main line of storms moving in for Monday night. But there is also the potential now that we see a few of those showers and storms pop up a little bit out ahead of that main line. And that could do a couple of things, which I'll touch on in just a moment. But one thing that has changed since earlier when I talked to you last on the stream, we have been upgraded in that flooding risk. Now we sit at that slight risk for areas of flooding. So scattered flash floods may be possible, and you may be thinking to yourself, how could we be in a drought and then also have the potential for some flooding? Well, sometimes when the ground is so dry, it can become hydrophobic. So that means it doesn't really absorb all that water at a fast rate. So it eventually just turns into runoff and could lead to areas of flooding. So that is also another risk. But we've also got that hatched tornado risk. So that indicates the potential of stronger tornadoes, potentially up to EF2 strength. If we do get a tornado to form, there would be dynamics to support that strength of tornado. So let's break down the timing here. The models, again, have been floating back and forth between the idea of maybe seeing some pre-line convection, so maybe seeing a few storms popping up out ahead of the main line, mainly late Monday afternoon and into the early evening hours. This model has been back and forth in particular. Earlier when I showed it to you, it was popping those storms out earlier in the afternoon. Now it kind of wants to set up maybe a double-lined feature here. We'll have the chance for a couple of showers and storms out ahead of that main line, but only by an hour or so. So what this may do is it may take out some of the energy from that main line and weaken it a little bit. But if that were the case, then these storms out ahead of it would also have that untapped potential. So it doesn't really look like we'll escape this unscathed. I do still think we're going to see a good amount of severe thunderstorms and even a couple of tornado warnings with these storms as they move in. But in general, if we do start to see any showers or storms pop up out ahead of that line, that may push that start time a little bit earlier. So I think that main line will generally be working in from the west to east after 9 o'clock. But if those storms get going out ahead of it, we could be talking about as early as 5 o'clock for areas in southern Illinois to start seeing some of those storms move through. So that may shift the timing just a little bit. And I know a lot of you guys are trying to adjust your plans, making sure that you're in a place where you know where you're going to be and know how to be safe in at the time of these storms rolling through. So this still may get tweaked here through tomorrow morning. So you definitely want to come back and check in, especially through sunrise, of the latest information here. But this model continues to paint this picture of some showers and storms out ahead of the main line. And then that main line pushes in after 8 o'clock and continues to push in from northwest to southeast through around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Then it'll finally push off to our east and we'll kind of be in the clear for the rest of Monday night. Now, I will show you another model here and what this is putting out. This model is the HRRR model. It's not as clear and concise as what we're seeing with the graph. So it starts us off, again, the chance for maybe a few patchy areas of drizzle tomorrow morning. I don't really think this is going to be all that likely. I think we'll likely be capped and dry enough to where we wouldn't have this happen. This model kind of overdoes that at this point in its forecasting range, so keep that in mind. But this does bring in the potential for some of those storms to just bubble up throughout the afternoon out ahead of that main line. And if that does happen, that may take out some of the energy from that main line moving in from the northwest. So you can see it looks a little bit weaker here on this model compared to the model that I just showed you. So there is a whole lot of outcomes that this could still see here. So you want to continue to check back for updates. But in general, we're not expecting any real severe weather threat until later Monday afternoon at the earliest. I still think that main severe weather threat is going to be with that line moving in after 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So that'll be our main threat window there, but still things could change as we go through tomorrow morning. So just kind of recapping everything here, we've got that potential for some damaging winds, even the potential for some embedded tornadoes within that larger line. And again, that time frame may shift a little bit depending on if we see some of those storms pop out ahead of the main line of severe thunderstorms. So let me go ahead and check out some of the comments and see if you guys have any questions for me. Kenneth asking, what are the best alternatives for someone who doesn't immediately have a weather radio? Well, we do recommend downloading the 14 First Alert weather app and turning on those notifications. You'll be able to get those notifications sent directly to your phone, and as long as that you have your sound on, you'll be able to hear it, and that will hopefully wake you up in the event that maybe you're not paying attention or maybe that you're sleeping. So hopefully that could alert you to be able to get into safety. And I'll go over how to download that First Alert app and turn on those notifications coming up here in this stream. So stay tuned for that. Zach Seats bringing up a good point. He said, I'm not scared, I'm just weather aware. Yes, we don't want anyone to be scared here. We just want you guys to be prepared in the best way possible so that you are aware of your own plans, you're aware of how to take care of yourself and your family members in the event you are placed under a warning. Carol asking, which model do I prefer or go by normally? Well, it all depends. At this point in the forecasting range, our in-house model, that first model that I showed you, typically performs a little bit better than that second model I showed you. However, when we get into that 24-hour time frame, I oftentimes prefer that second model I showed you. So it just really depends on what point we are in the forecasting period. Right now, I'm more leaning towards the first model that I showed you because we are expected to have at least some capping mechanism in place during the afternoon. So that will at least help prevent any sort of storms from popping out way too early ahead of the line. But what the graph is putting out, where it's only popping them out a few miles out ahead of the line. That results in maybe an hour earlier. That maybe seems a little bit more likely in my opinion, but again, that could certainly change here. We'll have to see how these models trend overnight and into early tomorrow morning. So again, just continue to check back in for the latest. Norma asking, is Vincennes in this? Yes, Vincennes is within that risk area here. It covers quite a large area. Let me show you that risk map one more time here. It includes pretty much the entire state of Illinois and the eastern half of Missouri, and then it kind of just picks up here on the eastern fringes of Indiana. But it catches us, for the most part, here in the tri-state and even up towards Knox County in Vincennes. So you are included in that level 3 threat. But again, I don't want you to get too concerned about where exactly you are in terms of these contours. No matter what, the ingredients are there for severe weather to happen. So you need to make sure that you are prepared for that in the event you are placed under a warning. Jay asking if cloud cover tomorrow may limit the intensity of the main line. That is also possible, especially if we get that afternoon convection that I was talking about. That would also take out some of that energy. However, if those storms are able to pop and they take a hold of that untapped energy, those storms themselves will still be on the strong to severe side. So you don't really get out of the situation entirely. It just kind of shifts where the focus may end up. So there is still that possibility, though, that if we do see those storms popping out ahead in the afternoon, that it weakens that line after the fact. But either way, I still think we have a pretty volatile and rather messy severe weather situation that could occur tomorrow afternoon. It's not as clean cut as I would like it to be at this point in the forecasting range, but you know, this is what the weather is all about, and Mother Nature is going to eventually do whatever she wants. But regardless, I want you guys to be on alert for tomorrow afternoon, generally the late afternoon hours through Monday night, even into early Tuesday morning. And most of all the models have us cleared out by around 2 o'clock on Monday or Tuesday morning. So it shouldn't linger too late into the overnight hours, but I know a lot of folks obviously still have work and school the next day. So I know a lot of you are likely going to be staying up and watching us. Of course, we'll likely be going wall to wall, especially if there's any tornado warning. So you'll likely be watching us, or you'll be woken up by a lot of sirens or warnings sent to your phone. But speaking of sirens, I do want to talk a little bit about how to receive warnings. This touches on the question I was asked a little bit earlier in the comments. I don't want you to rely on outdoor storm sirens. They are not designed to be heard indoors, so they are only designed to be heard outdoors. The best methods to receive warnings is going to be by downloading our app and also having a NOAA weather radio. We prefer you have 2 ways to receive warnings, but obviously our situation in the comments, he said if you don't immediately have a NOAA weather radio, what is the best option? I mentioned that 14 First Alert weather app will send you a notification with an alarm tone if you are placed under a warning. And if you set up those notifications properly, you'll be able to receive those warnings no matter where you are. So it'll follow your location and only give you that relevant information. So it's just one of the steps to be prepared ahead of this severe weather threat. You want to know the latest information. So you're already watching this, you're already off to a great start. By the time we get into tomorrow, you guys need to be having a way to track these storms live, whether you have a radar app. The 14 First Alert weather app also has a radar that you'll be able to track the storms on. And with the latest timing adjustments and things like that through tomorrow morning, you'll want to be able to adjust your plans and remind your family of the safety plan. What is everybody going to be doing in the event they are placed under a warning? Where are we going? Where exactly are our safety nets and things like that? Do we have helmets? Do we have boots? Do we have cushions to cover ourselves, especially if we have a tornado warning and things like that? And you want to ensure that your shelter is clean and accessible. A lot of the times our shelters are an interior closet, an interior hallway, maybe the room under the stairwell. and that oftentimes becomes a place for storage. So you definitely want to make sure that is clean and accessible, so you don't have to worry about kind of shuffling things around at the last minute. And then of course, once a warning is issued, you want to make sure that you go to your safe place away from any windows or exterior walls, get low to the ground, and especially cover up your head, because that is going to be the most important thing to protect yourself. It's also a good thing to have a nice pair of shoes, or not a nice pair of shoes, but a good sturdy pair of shoes to kind of prevent from stepping out on any debris. If you, in the event you sustain damage, you don't want to further injure yourselves. But here is a little explainer on how to download the app and turn on those mobile alerts. So if you don't have the weather app yet, you can scan that QR code, or you could just type in your app store 14 First Alert weather app. That should come up immediately. You'll see our logo. You'll download it, and once you download it and open the app, you'll come to this page here. You'll see the forecast, but I want you to go to the top right corner where you'll see those 3 lines stacked on top of each other. That'll bring up a second window where you're able to access settings. You'll click on that cogwheel with the settings there, and that'll take you to this page. You'll see a couple of options. That first option is the 14 First Alert. You want to go ahead and toggle that on. Then you want to go down right below it where it says weather notification types. You'll click on that and you'll see another window pop up. And then from there, you want to go ahead and hit enable notifications for a location. And then it'll bring up a second window on the left. And you want to hit that button that says follow me. So this will go wherever you are. So even if you're not even here in the tri-state or you're displaced from home, you don't have to worry about it, because it's just going to track your location and send that relevant warning directly to your phone. And once you select that, you'll see all those toggles on the right there turn bright green. That means you've turned on the alerts for all of those potential weather notifications, and that would include any sort of severe weather or tornado warnings. The second most important thing that you want to do is making sure that you have notification sounds turned on. So you want to make sure that that is toggled on, and you want to make sure that as these storms are rolling through, you don't have your phone on silent, because if you have your phone on silent, no alarm tone will play. So you want to make sure if you are planning on trying to get some sleep tomorrow night, you want to make sure that you turn that ringer on so that you'll be able to actually hear the notifications when they come through. But that is kind of how you download the app so that you can get the warnings there. We covered all the timing and the hazards there for tomorrow, so hopefully that was as clear as it could be. I know the timing is still a little bit messy, especially in terms of how it may evolve. Again, we could see that potential for a few of those storms to pop up out ahead of that main line. In that case, we would still have that potential for severe storms late in the afternoon, and then again later on Monday night. So that may lead to 2 potential rounds. If not, we would just have that main line move through between the hours of 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. So that may linger a little bit into the overnight. Now, on to what we're tracking out through the next couple of days. I actually have added another alert for Tuesday night. This is also another system that's going to be sliding in from the south, and that could produce another round of some scattered showers and thunderstorms, albeit it won't be as intense or potentially widespread as what we're expecting tomorrow, but you could still catch a couple of warnings out of this system, especially for folks over western Kentucky. That seems to be where the best setup is, but this may continue into Tuesday night before clearing out early Wednesday morning. So the risks here, again, a little bit lower, not as great as what we're seeing for tomorrow, but most of the tri-state is included in a marginal to slight risk of severe storms with that Tuesday system. And mainly our primary threats would be that potential for some damaging wind gusts and the potential for some hail, but you can't even rule out a brief spin-up tornado in that instance as well. And with all the rain we're getting, we could also see that potential for some more isolated areas of flooding. So that is kind of the gist on both of those alert days. Again, tomorrow is definitely the day we're going to be focusing on. That's the day you should be preparing for at this moment. You want to make sure that you have a safety plan in place and making sure that everybody in your household is aware of that safety plan. And you want to make sure that you know where you're going to be in the event that these storms do roll through and you're in a place where you can be safe. Now, after we get through Monday and Tuesday, things start to calm down and chill out. Literally, we will be cooling back down below average for the first time in quite a while. Our average highs are typically in the lower 70s. Once we get through Tuesday, we'll only be topping out in the 60s here, potentially in the mid 60s by the time we get into Friday and into Saturday, before we start to warm back up, headed towards the end of next weekend. So a little bit of a cool down there. And then looking beyond even the 7-day forecast, it looks like through the start of May, maybe on the chillier side for the entirety of the eastern half of the United States. So there's another look at the 7-day forecast for you. I'll take that full screen. I'll take one more look at the comments here. If you have another question, I'm happy to answer it for you. But hopefully I kind of covered everything as best as I can. But yeah, we'll get through the Monday and Tuesday storms. Hopefully with all the preparations in place, no one gets hurt. That's always the goal. But I am not seeing any other questions. So I am going to hop off the live stream, and I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 tonight, which is going to be streaming only. So the same way that you're watching this, you'll be able to catch the entirety of our newscast. So that includes news and, of course, weather here. So you don't want to miss that. But until then, everybody stay safe and have a great rest of your night, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.